Howdy, 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 gang. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Monday, January 9th, 2023. This is live stream 871. I think. I'm pretty sure it is. So, welcome aboard. If this is your first time visiting, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news and taking a look at a tabletop game. Tonight, we are actually going to dive in and take a first look at Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, The Imperial Zoo from Cubicle 7 Entertainment is the latest release for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition from our friends over at Cubicle 7, and we are going to be diving on in to take a look at that in just a bit. Do want to mention, if this is your first time hanging out, maybe you're tuning in because you want to get a peek at the Imperial Zoo, keep in mind we tackled the tabletop gaming news first. So it'll be probably about 35, maybe 40 minutes before we're jumping on into the Imperial Zoo. So if you're watching live, kick back, put your feet up, relax, take it easy. It's Monday. Don't have a case of the Mondays. Just chill out and enjoy yourself. But of course, if you tune in 30 minutes or more after this stream ends, then there are timestamps. They are located in the show notes. And if you want to jump past the tabletop gaming news, although we've got cool news each and every episode, but regardless, if you're in a hurry and you want to check out the Imperial Zoo, you can use the timestamps to jump ahead. And depending on what device you might happen to be watching this on, those timestamps might be right there in the timeline of the video, right in front of you. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the Gaming Gang channel. Lastly, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. One of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. You do have to be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. It's also one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. So we might actually have some new folks hanging out in chat tonight. That's one of the reasons why I do want to make sure that you're aware that you must be a subscriber to the channel and must be a subscriber for at least 48 hours in case you're hanging out and you're like, hey, what's going on? How come I can't get into this chat sort of thing? Anyway, so Joseph Quam, my God, I can't even speak already. I've been running around a lot today. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Let's try that again. Joseph Quam is with us. He's first out the gate, followed by the Motor City Madman. Yes, the Madman himself is with us. He is one of our chat moderators, as is Mr. Eddie T, which leads me to assume, and hopefully it doesn't make an ass out of me, That means Sarah D is floating around nearby. Deja Vu is with us. Veteran Grabelox, Coco B, and who else we got here? My buddy Scott Weagle. My high school friend Scott Weagle has popped in. I mentioned Scott's name last week. Kind of funny. His ears must have been burning. He's like, why the hell's going on with my ears? So he's stopping on in. Liquid Nebula is here. Wancho Dumagal has joined us. So has Von Moore and Testy Trekkie. So I think I've said hello to everybody so far there in chat. So howdy, everybody. So I'm going to jump on into the news. Then before we get into the Imperial Zoo, a couple of things I want to talk about. A couple of videos I shared over the weekend, and another video that's coming hopefully later tonight. Worst case scenario, it'll be sometime early tomorrow, but it's done. It's in the can. It's good to go. It's just not uploaded to YouTube yet. Sometimes YouTube takes forever to process videos. Kathy Evans has popped on in, and Sarah D says she is here. She's just hiding out as usual. All right, so let's jump on into the news, because arriving in March from Looney Labs is Across America Flux. Here's the scoop. Road trip. Yes, the ever-changing card game is hitting the road and seeing the sights on a drive across the United States of America. From famous landmarks to national parks, it's got everything from the Golden Gate Bridge to the Statue of Liberty, including the Grand Canyon, Hollywood, Cape Canaveral, Devil's Tower, the monuments of D.C., and, of course, amusement parks. Perfect for vacations or armchair travelers, Across America Flux includes a few special twists, including the new rule, play all day, and an action called Route 66. Who calls shotgun? Flux is a game about change. It begins very simply with a couple of core rules and gradually becomes more complex as cards are played that change those rules. Even how you win will be constantly shifting, so you're never sure who will win until somebody does. With a perfect blend of luck and strategy, far heavier on luck. That's me saying that. Every game is different. Across America Flux is an excellent souvenir. Play well on vacation, remember the trip afterwards, and create many memories in future years of laughing around the kitchen table. It's a fun way to learn U.S. geography, history, and cultures, and special cards encourage additional fun, such as dreaming of what else you would do while on vacation and singing travel songs. Across America Flux is for 2 to 6 players, ages 8 and up, plays around 10 to 30 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $20 when it arrives on March 3rd. So yes, an all-new Flux title, and it doesn't have any licensed IP it's tying into. It is about the United States. So I wonder if Chicago is going to be in the mix there. I wonder. They've got a Route 66 rule. Route 66 starts in Chicago. So, well, just outside Chicago. So yes, I'm sort of curious. Very, very curious. We shall see. So, some fun for the whole family. Slated for a second quarter release this year is a new edition of Builders of Blankenburg. Here's the latest from Cobblestone Games. Blankenburg is back. The classic game of bidding and building returns with a new second edition. A new count has arrived to oversee the tiny hamlet of Blankenburg. 2 to 6 players compete to build up the town and earn prestige in the eyes of the count. Do you have what it takes to become the master builder and earn the key to the city? Featuring the novel Citizen track, you need to pay attention not to just what you build, but for whom you are building. Each citizen has different interests and will stay at different structures. Only by catering to the citizens of the town will you ensure a steady stream of silver from which to build. The year is 1123. A new count has been given domain over the settlement of Blankenburg. People are coming to town from the surrounding countryside in hopes of a better life. You've seen an opportunity to make your fame and fortune as the town is built. In Builders of Blankenburg, you are competing to construct the town and earn the most prestige while doing so. Each player takes on a persona, which provides a unique benefit during the game. You begin the game with some basic resources and a small amount of silver. While all structures can earn you prestige, only buildings which the town citizens demand will earn you the silver necessary to bid for and purchase more resources. Each turn consists of 4 phases: bidding, the primary means of gaining resources; building, constructing, and occasionally demolishing; income, gaining silver for the structures you own; marketplace, an opportunity to buy plans and resources. Game introduces the Citizen Track, a growing group of townfolk that allows all players to see which structures will earn them income. It also serves to signal the end of the game once the town is full. The town is split into 4 districts, each limited in size, and awarding bonuses at the end of the game for anyone who controls more of a district than their opponents. There are no other plots on which to build. The game also ends. Beware, while the citizens are known, the best laid plans can be ruined by events and visitors to the town. The player with the greatest prestige at the end of the game is declared the winner. Chicken dinner. Builders of Blankenburg is for 2 to 5 players, ages 13 and up, plays in around 60 to 90 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $59.99 when it arrives in the first half of this year. So I have heard first quarter, and then I saw another distributor saying Q2. So I'm not sure when this will arrive. So I figured, I'll just say the first half of the year. That way, I'm probably pretty close to being on the money. I always like town building games, and this one's set in the 12th century. So hopefully that count isn't Dracula, right? Hey, so we're building up this village for the vampire? Okay. Joseph had pointed out Flux is a fun way to pass the time at cons or on rainy days. They are looking forward to the Across America Flux. Only issue I've had with Flux, and I have not played Flux a ton, is that sometimes when the rules are changing, the game plays far longer than it should. That the game starts wearing its welcome out when it's like, somebody please win this. But that doesn't happen often, but it does happen every once in a while. Viper Dave is with us in chat, as is Willem Hellheist. Good to see you. Welcome aboard. Let's talk about some role-playing game news, because there is a money-saving offer which has returned for Bundle of Holding. Here's the deets on the Game Designers Workshop 2300 AD bundle. Traveler, we've resurrected our September 2018 GDW 2300 AD bundle featuring PDFs of the original 1986 to 88 Game Designers Workshop tabletop science fiction role-playing game 2300 AD. 3 centuries after the Twilight War, the nations of Earth established dozens of space outlets around the near stars. Be part of a new age as humanity battles for the final frontier. For just $16.95, you'll get all 8 complete titles in this revived offer's starter collection with a retail value of $90 as DRM-free PDFs, including the first edition Traveler 2300 core rules set, the Ships of the French Arm Guide, the Aurore and Noyatikundu source books, and 4 adventures for first edition: Beanstalk, Energy Curve, K for Dawn, and Mission Arcturus. And if you pay more than the threshold price of $29.56, at least that's what it is currently, You'll level up and also get this Revival's entire bonus collection with 8 more titles worth an additional $90, including the 2300 AD second edition core rules, the 2300 AD equipment guide and ground vehicle guide, the colonial atlas of all the planets in human space, the Kafer source book, one of the best books in the 2300 AD line, and 3 second edition adventures, Bayern, Invasion, and Ranger. You want to take note, these are PDF image scans with optical character recognition applied to the original 1986 to 90 hard copies. Text is readable and copyable. Cover images are sometimes muddy. Several of these scans were made from copies in the original GDW product library, as indicated by labels and stamps on the covers. One copy is actually even autographed by the author. These savings will run through January 23rd, and 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to the pandemic-related charity Direct Relief. So, I have to point out, I have had people bust my chops because I said in the past that 2300 AD was Traveler, and they have argued with me that it is not Traveler. It is part of Twilight 2000, and I had pointed out before that yes, Twilight 2000 leads to 2300 AD, which leads to Traveler. And they're like, oh, no. Sure remembered, first edition, right on the cover shows Traveler 2300. But I got to say, this is what kind of leads to some of the confusion around Traveler. Because there's so many different Travelers out there, right? So, of course, this is Game Designers Workshop. They're long gone. But we also have Mongoose Traveler, and Mongoose, not too long ago, released 2300 AD. In fact, their latest release is that Bayern campaign, which I have always heard really good things about. But it's kind of funny because it's like, oh, well, okay, so here's this bundle of holding. And I am not trying to talk you out of saving money and checking out these Traveler 2000 or 2000 AD releases. It's just sort of funny. It's like, okay, first edition, second edition, because there's multiple Travelers now. There's Mongoose Traveler, which Flaming Heron points out. They love Mongoose Traveler. By the way, welcome Flaming Heron. He's our last of our chat moderators, so all 4 of them are here, as is Captain Nolan and Quantum Phase Dragon. But we've got Traveler 5. We have the second edition of Mongoose's Traveler. We have the Cepheus engine, which is built on original Traveler. So it's like, so Captain Nolan says first edition was called Traveler 2300. Other than being a science fiction RPG produced by GDW, there was no real connection to Traveler. That I understand, but it was sold as if it was. That's my point. So it was presented as a product in the Traveler line. But yes, as Captain Nolan's pointing out, mechanics were different. So anywho, Omanal's with us. So Omanal says, and like 2300 above Imperium. Yeah, there we go. More. And then we had Mega Traveler came out. Hey. Flaming Heron points out there are 22 viewers currently. Hit that like button. I'll talk about that a bit later. Here's something pretty odd. Is that, and I don't know, but it'll show like like say right now it says 22 viewers. But when I look at like the analytics, it'll show there's more than that. I don't know. I personally don't worry about those kind of things. But it's kind of funny because it'll show something where it's like, oh, well, your stream had 19 viewers and 71 views. It's like, so hold on. It's like, so how did people watch without being a viewer? I don't know. It's like everything. Yes, the numbers make sense the way YouTube wants them to make sense, I guess we'll say. All right, on to some other tabletop role-playing game news. They Came From Beyond the Grave gets a new supplement in Monsters from the Crypt. Yes. Here's the skinny. The monsters of the world are many and terrible. They range from the undead to the bestial, the eldritch to the diabolical. Monsters of all stripes await you in the cellar, in the woods, stalking you in the alley, leading to your home. But which horror are you destined to face? Fear the monsters, reader. Fear them all. I guess I should say fear the monsters, listener. Fear them all. Well, the contents of this book may enlighten you to a monster's name or behavior. Nothing will save you from its clutches, its evil gaze, its biting fangs. Flee now and never look back. Monsters from the Crypt, exclamation point. Let's not forget that exclamation point. Is a source book for directors wanting a slew of new antagonists for their stories of... I didn't do the voice before. I gotta do the voice. They came from beyond the grave. And providing a system and guidelines for creating your own monstrous foes. They Came From Beyond the Grave. I know I didn't use the voice that time. Uses the story path system, which you can find in the pages of They Came From Beyond the Grave's rulebook. Monsters from the Crypt includes chilling fiction to help set the tone for your stories. Over 20 new monsters for your games of They Came From Beyond the Grave, including the Bigfoot, dead, grasping hands, ghoulish cannibals, and Pazuzu. I have no idea what Pazuzu is. I would say maybe like a giant gorilla. Not King Kong giant, but you know what I mean. One of those, killer gorillas. There's also a handy chapter all about how to create your own monsters. This 55-page softcover of Monsters from the Crypt is available over at DriveThruRPG for $11.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone for $7.99. Sammy has really liked They Came From Beyond the Grave, as well as They Came From Beneath the Sea from Onyx Path Publishing. Hopefully, we'll be able to see a review of this, because I think Sammy's reviewed just about everything for both of those that are part of the storyteller system. These seem like they're fun. They really do. And I don't think, well, I'm pretty sure They Came From Beneath the Sea doesn't take itself too seriously, whereas They Came From Beyond the Grave, I like to change it up a little bit every time I say it. I would think this takes itself a little more seriously, although it's sort of an homage to like those 1970s sort of horror films, like Race with the Devil. So, Flaming Heron points out Pazuzu, Jeff. Pazuzu is an Assyrian Babylonian demonic god. Damn, how could I have possibly forgotten that? So Coco B says Pazuzu is the demon from The Exorcist, they seem to recall. Okay. Liquid Nebula says, look up Pazuzu from Futurama. It's the god of the southwestern wind from the Mesopotamian era. All right, so everybody's telling me what Pazuzu is, and none of them agree. Captain Nolan says from the drive-thru blurb, they came from beyond the grave contains a mix of serious threat, unmitigated ham, and nonsensical farce. So that's the core book. There have been some supplements that have come out that have been a bit different. So I think that's sort of the tone of the core book, but not necessarily all of the supplements that have come out. Moving right along, now available in PDF from Third Kingdom Games is Populated Hexes Year 1. I should say it's Populated Hexes Monthly Year 1. Here's what I know. Populated Hexes Monthly compiles the first 12 issues of the PHM Zine series into a single book with newly commissioned art and arranged by a setting location. While written for old school essentials, it can be used with any OSR style game. Features the following. The Shrine of Jothog includes the lair of a dragon and a partially submerged cave containing a long forgotten godling. It includes rules for nodes of chaos and adding spell schools for old school essentials. There's Entrance to the Valley of the Kings. Part 1 introduces the Valley of the Kings, the resting place of many of the ancient Crocodile King royalty. Includes rules for creating new undead creatures, both as a player and for the referee. Then there's the Entrance to the Valley of the Kings Part 2, which features an underground complex controlled by a necromancer and their undead creations. Includes new necromantic spells. Gosh, here I go. Butchering English again. Flaming Huron is telling Google that it's a liar. Chen from Taiwan is with us. Welcome aboard. Next up, we've got Village of the Gripply. In addition to the aforementioned Village, it includes 2 playable race as class Gripply options. Cave of the Yeti focuses on an ice cave inhabited by a group of Yeti, as well as rules and spells for adventuring in the frozen wastes or other cold climates. Gateway to the Frozen Wastes features the town of Ogrim, a small community and research facility. Includes rules for adding templates to monsters and characters. Artifacts of the Giant Folk looks at a hex containing ruins left over from the time of the Giant Folk and introduces rune magic. The Haunted Hills, moving east to the shadow of the Plateau of Lang. This issue introduces the Binder class, an individual that gains power by striking pacts with forgotten gods, dead heroes, and the vestiges that haunt the world. Fool's Ascent describes one of the few known paths to the mount of the Plateau of Lang and explores the Dreamlands. Then there's the Dreaming City of Cathubar. Nestled at the foot of the Plateau of Lang is the Embassy City of Cathubar. Includes stats for the denizens of Lang. Yeah, doing a little Lovecraftian there. Then there's the Lake of the Dead, a cursed lake fed by ice melt from Lang. This issue features a small dungeon haunted by phase spiders, as well as rules for adding mortal wounds to your game. Then finally, there's the Gardens of the Rising Sun. In the middle of the frozen waste can be found an oasis of green, kept warm and verdant by a connection to fairy. It is the dangerous hunting preserve of a fairy court, and this includes fey-tinged elf classes. The 178-page PDF for Populated Hexes Monthly Year 1 is available over at DriveThruRPG for $18.95. It's a lot of content. I have also heard good things about Populated Hexes Monthly. Looks like we get a good amount of content there. So it seems like each zine is probably 11 pages or so. So kind of cool, maybe 12 pages. Gotta say, I always like the 3D maps. Always the dungeon maps like we're looking at right there. Always dig that. Dungeon Crawl Classics is big on those 3D maps as well, and always like those quite a bit. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG, Dungeon Masters Guild, Storytellers Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, then you can always swing over by paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. And big thank you to the Madman for stopping on by paypal.me and making a not so small donation. Much obliged, sir. Thank you very, very much. Because remember, I don't do a Patreon. I don't do Kickstarters every year to stick around. I don't do Kickstarters, period. When I say every year like that, it almost comes across like, oh, so I guess Jeff does Kickstarters. It's just not every year. No, that is not true. So it is really, really appreciated. Thank you very kindly. All right, so we're going to be jumping on into Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the Imperial Zoo, in just a few moments. But a few things I did want to mention. You may have caught my video that I shared regarding my thoughts about the leaked information about the Open Game License 1.1 for Dungeons and Dragons, or I guess we should say 1D&D from Wizards of the Coast. So I know a few of you who follow the show, hang out and chat. Of course, you're always watching videos on the channel, and that had contacted me asking if I was going to share any thoughts about it. And I did. I know a lot of people didn't care for what I had to say. People got mad because I said, you know what we're looking at right here is not necessarily the finished product. We don't know if this is the final Open Game License. And people jumped down my throat over that. And now it's looking like that was the case, because I have not had a chance to take a look at it. But supposedly, Open Game License 1.1 is now out. It is out. And I think it goes into effect on the 13th, is what I'm hearing. Once again, I don't know. I haven't really dug in on it because I've been busy. I mentioned in my OGL video that this is not a Dungeons and Dragons channel. I don't run a Dungeons and Dragons website. I have other things to worry about. The D&D content is just a small portion of the Gaming Gang. Very, very small portion in all reality. I tackle a lot of publishers, a lot of games, a lot of genres, not just role-playing games, board games, war games, things like that. So it's important to keep that in mind. I feel bad for the people out there who their channel is all D&D stuff, because I don't honestly think the Open Game License changes are really going to affect them. Just like I had people commenting, what about those figures behind you? What about that first edition player's handbook behind you? Can't Wizards of the Coast sue you over that? It's like, are you joking? It's like, no. Because people don't understand what the Open Game License is. And then something else I got with a lot of video, in a lot of comments in the videos, were the experts who don't know dick. So I had commented that unless you're walking the halls of Hasbro's upper management, you don't know what they're going to do. Now we may, because like I said, I hear it is now out. But a few days ago, we didn't. It was leaked information that came out. And, oh no, this is what it's going to be. Why are you making excuses? So I'm not making excuses. I'm saying we don't know, right? If it's the case, it's bullshit. But who knows? We knew it was going to be crap. We just didn't know how bad it was going to be. I heard before I went live, in fact, that's why I was a couple of minutes late. I heard it's bad. I heard it is bad. So I also saw that Trollord Games will not sign it. If it's what's being presented, they will not be on board. That they will make some changes to Castles and Crusades, but they are not going to sign on. I know Chris over at Deus Ex Machina said he's not going to sign it. I understand Gavin Norman over at Necrotic Gnome, the folks behind Old School Essentials, is very concerned, which he should. He should be very concerned because Old School Essentials is BX D&D, no getting around it. It is all of that that reference document is all baked into the DNA of that, and that is trouble. Lots of trouble. So, and I feel bad because I like Old School Essentials. So anyway, so if you're curious about my thoughts, check out the video. I'm sure many of you already have. And then I had mentioned, kind of as a throwaway line in that video, that I could easily mention 20 fantasy role-playing games that were not Dungeons and Dragons, and that you could pick up, bring to your game table, and have an absolute blast playing. And they taint D&D duly. And then I didn't mention any of the other games. Because it was just, nothing was scripted. I was just, it was off the cuff. I was sharing my thoughts like I do here, like I do in almost all my videos. The only thing that's ever really scripted is the sell sheet info that I bring you about these different games that are coming out or available. That's all that's ever scripted. I don't script any of this stuff. It's all off the cuff. So I shared a video with 29 tabletop role-playing games, fantasy role-playing games, which aren't Dungeons and Dragons, and it was very popular over the weekend. It's like, wow, holy cow. But then, I shared games that are part of the open game license, because the point of the video was not, oh, hey, let's not talk about games that are part of the open game license. The point of the video was sharing fantasy role-playing games that aren't D&D and aren't owned by Wizards of the Coast. Because the thing is, some people are thinking, oh, geez, all these people are upset about the open game license. No, that is just some topping on top of the rest. Because people are very upset about this whole push for monetization of D&D. And I'm not trying to say, oh, they should be giving the game away for free. I've never said that. But they're going to change a document that even the creators of that document said was supposed to be permanent. It should not be revocable. But yet, Wizards of the Coast is going to do it, regardless of what the intent of that open game license originally was. But it's just this hostile stance that Wizards of the Coast, and the reality is, let's be very, very honest, it's not the folks working on Dungeons and Dragons. Jeremy Crawford's not sitting there going, yeah, let's get them. The freelancers working on D&D have nothing to do with this. This is all Hasbro. This is all upper management, Wizards of the Coast. It's their new CEO. It's all about the Benjamins, and it's always been about the Benjamins, but now it's like, we want that money. We don't care. We don't care how we get it, and if we do, we'll break the damn game. We don't care. All right, so Captain Nolan says they're with Troll Lord Games all the way. One more says, I ran my first ever tabletop role-playing game session last weekend using old school essentials, and Open Game License 1.1 has influenced them to never give Wizards of the Coast a dime, aside from the 3 core 5e books that they already own. Let's see. USA Dreamhouse. Hello, welcome aboard. Say hello to Barbie for us. Is with us in chat. I'm sure I may have missed some folks popping on in. Chen says OGL 1.1 looks awful. It does, doesn't it? Okay, so you're going to have to excuse this language. And the thing is, I am not going to just sit here going on and on about the open game license because, once again, this isn't a D&D channel. Like I said, I feel bad that's the people who their channels, their outlets are all D&D. But on one hand, they've kind of brought it on themselves too, with the constant bootlicking of Wizards of the Coast and the sitting there shooting 20 videos about one book release. Oh, these 2 pages talk about this, so let me spend 10 minutes, because, videos got to be 10 minutes. Not less, not more, just 10 minutes. But I still feel bad for them. I feel sorry for them because now they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So Wizards of the Coast going to say, hey, we want your YouTube money. We want that 35 cents that YouTube paid you today. That's ours. Who knows? Maybe. Possible. Anthony Goods with us in chat. All right. So Stray Kismet's with us too. So Stray Kismet says, yeah, it's bleeding into other channels. Yeah, it's all over the place. Well, one thing too is you got to realize people are seeing how many views these open game license videos are getting. And even if they don't know jack about it, which I got to be honest, most of these people don't, because it's not the open game license. It's the reference document. That's the problem. If your product has tons of stuff from the system reference document in your game, baked into the DNA of your game, you are in trouble. It's not the open game license. That's why Troll Lord Games can sit there and say, well, there's so little of the SRD in our game. We can easily just, throw that out. We're all good with the rest. It's like there are people out there who think that a D20 mechanic for action resolution is somehow under the open game license. Just like using attributes called strength, constitution, intelligence. They think if your game has that, well, then you're under open game license. Bullshit. That is not true. That's what I'm saying. You're seeing all these people in their channels, they never cover Dungeons and Dragons, jumping in on this open game license debate because it's views. That's basically what it is. So anyway, Joseph says, good comment on the video series that lasts 3 times as long as the book takes to read. Yeah, I know. Well, come on. Come on, you see this clickbait. You see these clickbait thumbnails that all look the same. It's all, I'm not ripping on every outlet out there, but let's be honest. There are a lot of outlets out there covering Dungeons and Dragons where the person who's your host does not play Dungeons and Dragons and they've never run Dungeons and Dragons. And what they do is they sit there and they regurgitate to you everything they hear from other outlets who do run D&D, and they tweak it and it comes out of their mouths. We know how this works. Come on. It's all about the views. It's all about that sweet, sweet monetization. Chickens are coming home to roost, baby. That's all I got to say. Anyway, but like I said, I kind of feel sorry for those folks. Anyway, boil it down. Here's what the deal is with open game license, and you'll have to excuse my language, but this is how it works. So the old open game license 1.0A, maybe I should say A in parentheses, or not parentheses, it's in containers there. Basically, Wizards of the Coast said, hey, content creator, you can use our system reference document, and we promise we're not going to come and fuck you. Now, this new open game license says, hey, content creator, this is Wizards of the Coast, and we're going to fuck you. That's what it says. That is exactly all it boils down to. That's it. Tessie Trekkie asks, did I ever review Cyborg? I did not. I have not yet. So Anthony Good says they thought the rules lawyer did a good job with his video. I referenced that in the video that I shared. And once again, you know, I told people this is just my opinion, and it was mainly coming from a gamer's point of view and how it was going to affect most gamers, just the average gamer. An open game license is not going to affect people who are apologists for Wizards of the Coast, who sit there and they talk about how every game book that comes out is just fantastic, which we know is not the case. That's why a lot of people don't watch this channel for D&D information, because I don't bullshit you. I tell you what I think. And most recently, the past few releases from D&D have not been very good. They have not been inspiring. In fact, the best out of the bunch, which I actually really liked, and I say it all the time, was The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I really liked. But that's kind of like a Witchlight in the darkness as far as we've seen from 5e D&D. I also pointed out in the video that if Wizards of the Coast decides, you know what, we don't like what Jeff's saying, so we're not going to send him review copies of stuff anymore, I don't care. You know, that's another thing where, you know, a lot of people are making, you may not be seeing this, but it's out there. There are outlets that are not necessarily sticking up for Wizards of the Coast, but they are making excuses for Wizards of the Coast. And they're saying, oh, things aren't going to be that bad. Yeah, because they want to say that because they don't want to piss anybody off at Wizards of the Coast. Because when those review copies dry up, that's what their channel's about. They've got nothing to make 25 videos about. They'll have to find some new role-playing game to shoot 25 videos about a 30-page adventure. Joseph points out they are not an IP lawyer. See, that's the other thing. Yes, the rules lawyer is a lawyer. He's not an IP lawyer, but he's a lawyer. He really is a lawyer. Anyway, so Stray Kismet says they watch this show and check out this channel because I talk about other stuff. Yes, I do. I do. I certainly do. In fact, we're doing it tonight. Anyway, last thing I just wanted to mention is, so I did the 29 fantasy role-playing games, which aren't Dungeons and Dragons, which a lot of people have liked. I have a new video. It's 22 stellar science fiction role-playing games deserving of your attention. Because I got some comments on that fantasy role-playing game video asking, aren't you going to do one with science fiction video or science fiction games? Science fiction videos. Jeff, aren't you going to do a video about science fiction videos? Video? So yes, it's done. It's finished. I just haven't uploaded it yet. So that is it. I'm not going to talk about the open game license really anymore until we find out what it says, period. And we know that it is it. I'm not going to share another video. I might talk about it on the show here, and then that's going to be it. This is not going to be the open game license hour. So, yes, Captain Nolan got it. Yes, stellar science fiction games. That's exactly it. All right. Anyway, so stay tuned. It'll either be up tonight or tomorrow. And the review of Cyborg is coming soon. So Tessie Trekkie, I believe, was the one who asked about it. So there you have it. Am I going to do a horror one? Probably not. And the reason behind that is I don't actually have a lot of horror role-playing games. I don't. And there aren't a whole lot that I would probably recommend. There'd maybe be, off the top of my head, 5? Maybe 5 that I'd say, yeah, definitely check these out. And of course, like Savage Worlds would be one, because you can plug in a bunch of different horror settings into Savage Worlds. So in reality, it would be like 4. So Joseph says Cthulhu's a horror role-playing game, right? Yes, Call of Cthulhu is most certainly a horror role-playing game. So yes, it'd be Call of Cthulhu. It would be Delta Green. Like I said, Savage Worlds. Probably, I was just talking about a new book for it. They came from beyond the grave. Not because I've never even read it, but because Sammy has reviewed it and he really likes it. So I would share that. No, after that, Cthulhu Hack, I don't know anything about. See, that was the other thing about the fantasy role-playing game video. People were like upset that I didn't mention their favorite game or favorite publisher. And I pointed out in the video, I was sharing games that I knew about, that games I had reviewed or had gotten reviewed on the Gaming Gang. Not just go to Wikipedia and look up every fantasy role-playing game. Oh, okay. I'll mention that. Don't know shit about it, but I'm going to talk about it. No, absolutely not. And then, of course, there's a couple of game companies I don't talk about. So, Shadow of the Demon Lord, Captain Nolan says, is a horror fantasy game. I consider that more of a fantasy game. But that was a game that I didn't mention. And I didn't mean any disrespect. I just don't know anything about it. So I'm not going to just sit there and talk about, oh, yeah, you got to check this out. And now that puts me in the same category as some of these other outlets out there who just spout shit that they don't know anything about. I'm not like that. Yes, Flaming Head's pointing out one of the companies that is not to be spoken of here. I did mention them and the other one in the science fiction video because so many people were like, oh, I can't believe you didn't talk about Rifts. It's like, yeah, because I won't talk about Palladium. I had somebody commenting about it and they're like, I said, yeah, maybe you should look into Palladium. And their comment came back like, oh, all that stuff is just rumors and there's no evidence. And that's like over 10 years ago. I said, really? It's a rumor that Palladium ripped off all those people with that Robotech Kickstarter they did? That's a rumor? And then they commented back, oh, I didn't know anything about that. Mic drop. I love all these, we're not even going to get into it. The vast majority of folks who check out the videos and that, fantastic people. People in chat, all lovely. But unfortunately, you do this stuff and you get the lowest common denominator out there who couldn't find their ass with both hands, but they're going to tell you all about asses. So, Tessie Trekkie says, Palladium crisis of stealing cash? Yeah, Flaming Heron says, never happened if you stick your head in the sand. I know. So Captain Nolan says that Schwalbe Entertainment, isn't that what it's? I think it's Schwalbe Entertainment, is releasing Shadow of the Weird Wizard. Yes, I had heard about that. Joseph points out Boston is a flexible horror game. Yes, I would include that. That would make the list too, I'm sure. Like I said, I hadn't even really thought of it, but to me, it's silly. If I can't come up with 10 solid horror role-playing games that I can personally recommend that you take a peek at, I'm not going to do a video. All right. Anyway, enough of that. I mean, we're almost at the hour mark, and we have not jumped on into the Imperial Zoo yet. And of course, you know, it's time for a brief intermission.
The most popular beverage in America, milk. Refreshing and delicious. The perfect pickup and energizer. Get yours now.
Here's magic, popcorn magic. Only hot, fresh, perfectly seasoned popcorn can satisfy that movie time popcorn craving. So if you like popcorn, you'll really like ours. We start with the best and make it better. Get plenty for everybody now.
Get the item that adds to your personal comfort. Cigarettes, here they are. Get the kind you prefer and enjoy them thoroughly. All the most popular brands.
Get the item that adds to your personal comfort. Cigarettes, here you are. Get the kind you prefer and enjoy them thoroughly. All the most popular brands.
Anybody who doesn't drink Wilkins coffee ought to be tarred and feathered, right? Wrong! He always was a bad sport.
Oh, buy us, oh, buy us, oh, buy us, we beg. For if you don't buy us, we'll bite you in the leg.
Now, hold on. What kind of an attitude is that?
So buy us at one a bundle of charms.
And if you don't buy us, we'll break both your arms.
Okay, that's enough. Friends, buy the ideal Muppets. The kids will be screaming for them.
Yes, Wontkins lives. Maybe. So, yes, smoking during movie, well, eating cigarettes. Joseph says, Kermit breaking arms and taking cash. Yes. I've pointed it out before that Jim Henson's commercials were kind of twisted. They really were. And I guess his attitude was that violence was kind of funny when it was coming from puppets. I guess that's true. I find it to be pretty good. We'll mention, though, at some point we are not going to have Wilkins and Wontkins Wilkins coffee commercials. So, yes, I know. I have to point that. There's only, I think, like 80 that still exist. So Flaming Hero mentioned Punch and Judy. Yes, nothing like spousal abuse with puppets. Yes. Anyway, last thing I'll say about that brief intermission. Some folks won't necessarily know this, but the first Muppet to be featured on a television show was Rolf the dog. trying to remember. It was either the John Davidson show or the Jimmy Dean show. I can't remember which one it was that I ran across. And it was like, really? I think it was the Jimmy Dean hour. So, yes, Jimmy Dean was actually a performer, not just the guy that was like in the Bond movie Diamonds Are Forever. It's like, wow. It's like I've seen him on that, and then, the sausage commercials as a kid. Kathy says they love the Muppets ad. So Captain Nolan's spewing out a variety of horror role-playing games. Like I said, many of those can't really throw out a recommendation for. I reviewed Vampire the Masquerade, the latest version of it. Didn't care for it. Didn't think much of it. Tessie Trekkie's asking, Jimmy Dean isn't James Dean, is it? No. Jimmy Dean is not James Dean. That's why it's Jimmy Dean. So, all righty then. So tonight, I am going to dive on in and take a first look at the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay supplement that has just arrived, the Imperial Zoo, which is from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. It's written by a buddy of mine, T.S. Lukart, Elaine Lithgow, and Pedrick Murphy. The 136-page hardcover is available, I think, this week. I think it's out this week. It carries an MSRP of $39.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. I don't know why Captain Nolan keeps mentioning Ravenloft. That's Wizards of the Coast. We're talking about games that have nothing to do with Wizards of the Coast. That is Wizards of the Coast. So, all righty. Swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got the Imperial Zoo, grim and peerless beasts of the old world. A few things I want to mention before we jump on in. First off, the fine folks over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's important for you to know that. I know some people think, yeah, whatever. It's important to know that nobody's paying me to share this with you. There you go. Scott points out it was the Jimmy Dean show. Thank you, Scott. I thought it was Jimmy Dean because I could have swore I remembered seeing just a little segment on YouTube, and he's talking to Rolf about mowing the lawn or something. I was, holy cow. I was like, that's Rolf? So, yes. So Scott points out, I'm remembering that right. And like I said, I'm nearly positive he's the first Muppet to actually have a regular role on his show. It wasn't Kermit. A lot of people would assume it'd be Kermit. It's not. All right. So let's take a look at the back here. Frau Verno Warnicki, it is with great pleasure that I write to inform you that I have at last reached funding to commission the expeditions of which we lately spoke. Indeed, I expect that our patron should extend his largesse to pay not one, but 3 trips into the wild places of the Empire and beyond in pursuit of knowledge. The Imperial Zoo is a bestiary and travelogue of 3 daring expeditions into the old world, ranging from the heights of Kedron to the city of Miragalino, to the southern land of Telia. It includes profiles for over 60 unique creatures, beasts, and monsters of the old world, perfect to challenge even the most competent of adventurers. Also included are 6 new pre-generated characters, each with their own skills, talents, and shady past, perfect to pick up and dive into a campaign focused on the truly mammoth threats that stalk the old world. And then it's talking about what's in the book, but we're going to see what's in the book. So we're not going to take a look at each and every page. And of course, as usual, I'll be hanging out here in the upper corner. So that means I'll be cutting off a bit of the upper corner of the book as we take a look through. So we get the city of Altdorf, which there is a supplement all about the city of Altdorf. Should point out that Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition from Cubicle 7 Entertainment was one of those fantasy role-playing games that I certainly did recommend. I like WFRP a lot. I like this edition quite a lot. I know some people out there don't like the magic system to it. They think the magic system is kind of broken. But I think it's fine. I think it's all right. Although I have heard from some folks that what you should do is you should get the PDF for the 2nd edition, which you can get through Cubicle 7 Entertainment, or of course, DriveThruRPG, and use the magic system from that with this. Because the reality is, 4th edition is not all that different from 1st and 2nd editions. So keep that in mind. I mean, of course, there are differences, but they're not huge, massive changes. All right, so just taking a peek here. So here are our 6 pre-gens. Take a guess, our pre-gen sheets, the character sheets are in the back. I did have somebody comment on Twitter saying that they've seen this book already. They saw the PDF. They've read the PDF, and that they didn't like the fact that it's got this expedition storyline in it, that they would have just rather had just kind of like a straight out bestiary like Soulbound got for Warhammer Fantasy Age of Sigmar Soulbound, which is also from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. So we've got the Great Stag. Well named is the Great Forest, largest of all the Empire's woods. Stretching from the shores of the Reich to the southern reaches of Kislev, it encompasses all of the Grand Duchy of Talbotland and portions of many other lands. Beneath its wide boughs roam many dangers, green-skinned tribes, countless beastmen, and hungry bandits, to name but a few. Opposing these malefactors are the courage of the Empire's stout citizens, and sometimes the fierce wrath of Tal himself manifest in his sacred beast, the Great Stag. All right. So this is just kind of, I was going to say, wait a second. I saw the goblins. I was like, so are they just showing us what's in this forest to start off? But maybe, and that's possible. So here we've got of spiders and forest goblins. So it looks like we've got little sidebars with, looks like we've got kind of an ongoing, like these are the notes from somebody in the expedition. So we've got a couple of different spiders, got a couple of different forest goblins, great wolf. So it looks like we might be looking at by region here. We've got the Dread Maw, and of course I'm going to be skipping pages. Like I said, we're not going to look at all of this. So let's see. So, okay, so I see where they're talking about, where the commenter was talking about how there's this interwoven kind of story. So I see it's right in here. Of all the subtle killers of our hazardous world, none are quite so preternious as greed. The endless quest for profit leads to many reckless choices, but there will always be those quick to tell you that with great risk comes great reward. If this is so, then the rewards to be found along the Ivory Road to distant Cathay must beggar imagination, for it is regularly stalked by the terror of merchants. The Dread Maw is a terrible predator born of the blighted wastes. One does not see a burrowing Dread Maw coming for them. They feel it as a rumble in the earth, signaling doom. So we also have a new creature trait, burrow. So Joseph says they like the expedition aspect of this, provides an idea option to take your characters on quests for new animals and break up the old kill, loot, cash in, repeat cycle of fantasy role-playing games. Thankfully, that's really not the cycle in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. The stories usually, and of course, obviously, we've got the enemy within campaign, but the story, like the adventure compilations that I've taken a look at and shared and done reviews of, they're not the whole like Monty Hall routine, right? It's not, oh, hey, it moved, kill it. And one of the reasons behind that is because combat in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is very lethal. So you do not enter into combat lightly in this game. Something else I like about it. One other aspect of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, if you didn't know this, it has a bit of a sense of humor to it. I'm not saying that it doesn't take itself seriously at all, but it doesn't take itself overly seriously. And I love how the player characters are just kind of average folk to start off with. When you create your beginning character, you're going to be able to adventure with them, of course, but they're certainly not superheroes, nor do they have to be heroic. So there's that too. Actually, I'm liking the look of this so far. Of course, once I read it, I think the negative comment was that they felt that they weren't getting enough gameable material in the book. Maybe that's what they were thinking. So the first incident, the Griffin and the Ratmen. So Ratmen are not Skaven, though. I don't think they're going to be considered Skaven. Let's take a look. No, that is certainly not Skaven. The Rat Ogre Bonebreaker. I guess he is a Skaven. Huh. Another race that's pretty cool in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. One aspect of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is you don't have tons and tons and tons and tons of different monsters. You don't have 5 bestiaries overflowing with like 500 monsters. There's monsters, but it feels more organic, strangely enough, to say that maybe. I think in some fantasy role-playing game settings, 50 to 100 monster types is plenty. You don't need more than that. So Omenal says definitely Skaven or Skaven created monsters. I think they were Skaven created. Hey, Roll for Combat is with us in chat. Good to see you. Thanks for popping on in. I believe Roll for Combat had a live stream earlier today talking about the actual Open Game License 1.1, talking about it's been posted. Of course, Roll for Combat can correct me if I'm wrong because I did not see the video because I was prepping the show, and I already told you I was shooting that science fiction role-playing game video. So yes, so Roll for Combat said yes, and they had posted that. So I'm going to take a guess. If you want to get the scoop on what is in the Open Game License 1.1, you can definitely take a peek. So just ask. So it is now out. Am I correct that they have published it? And doesn't it go into effect on the 13th, or did I mishear something? Because like I said, as I pointed out, like Roll for Combat, the Open Game License is super important for them because they are content creators who create content for 5e as well as Pathfinder, don't get me wrong. But they create 5e content. So Roll for Combat says they've got the leak. So is it the complete leak? Because I know only some of it reached out. Maybe it was somebody else who had a live video going on today where they were saying they had the official Open Game License 1.1. But I'm sure Roll for Combat will agree with me that it's not unusual for somebody to post something like that as the title of their video and that not be the case. Roll for Combat says, no, that was them. That was them putting it out there. So it's all good news, right? I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but, you know, we knew what it was going to be. Tain't good. So there you go. So Joseph points out Battle Zoo, checking out the Imperial Zoo. Yeah, that is kind of funny, isn't it? So here we got River Trolls. I like the artwork because the artwork so far, much of it looks like they're sketches. Oh, Roll for Combat's got Ryan Dancy on the show for Wednesday. I was going to say they created the Open Game License. They were the writer behind it. And I believe Ryan said personally that no, that the Open Game License was never meant to be anything less than permanent. It is not supposed to be revocable. We'll find out. So here we go. River Trolls. Trolls, as any child of the Empire can tell you, are frightfully large and staggeringly stupid creatures with huge appetites, but completely indiscriminate tastes. Trolls will eat literally anything, or so the stories go. While they certainly prefer flesh and bone, they will happily consume wood, stone, steel, anything that could jam down their gob, really. Possibly due to their eating tendencies, trolls have amazingly powerful digestive juices. Their stomach acid can sear its way through almost anything given time. This is especially bad for their foes because trolls can seemingly disgorge the contents of their intestines at will, causing absolutely horrific and really disgusting wounds. There you have it. So that's something I did know about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay trolls, that they like to spit up acid on people. But as you can see, these almost look like sketches for the artwork. I like that. Corpse render of Carabug, the Night Ravens. So it appeared that these creatures are being grouped by expeditions. So the expeditions, we had the first expedition and second expedition. We've got the Great Raptors of the Grey Mountains. So these are not like monsters. These are creatures here. The high imposing wall of the Grey Mountains is all but impenetrable, save for a few storied passes and several infamous ones. The Grey Mountains' upper slopes are clad in year-round ice, while thick clouds obscure their lofty summits. There, high above the world, the great eagles set their eyries. Largest of all the raptors of the old world, the great eagles are said to have lived amidst the high peaks since long before the coming of humans. They are vast creatures with wingspans frequently stretching over 30 feet, yet they can move with blinding speed. Their eyes are the strongest of any mortal being. They can stare unflinching at the sun or study the movements of a rabbit across the fields of the Vorberland with their eyries. Oh, from their eyries. I was going to say. So for some strange reason, I keep seeing chat disconnecting and reconnecting. I think it's like the third time I've seen it. Wow, we have dropped frames tonight. Sorry to say. Not too bad. It's less than 1%, but normally we have no drop frames, so something must be up with the internet. So we've got the cockatrice, which this cockatrice is a little more frightening than some fantasy role-playing game cockatrices. So is this the last of the expeditions? Maybe not. We've got the Chimera. There we go. Here's the third expedition. Well, I don't see what the negative comments were about. Seemed pretty decent. You got the stat blocks and everything. Although, I got to say, I know a lot of people prefer to have a lot of information about tactics and things like that. So Flaming Heron says, not YouTube for a change. No, I guess not. So Omenal says they were getting lag in their game that they were playing. So maybe it's an internet thing. It's possible. We've got some out west. There's some horrible weather in that. And I know, it all depends on where this is all going through. So we got wild cats, the siren. West of Remus, across the Italian Sea, lies the shattered Carvorna Archipelago, which acts as the first natural defense of Tabaro. These are all like new. You know what? There's new areas that Cubicle 7 Entertainment is introducing to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, because I know there's a setting book that's coming out that is going to be it's across the sea. That's why they had that one book come out. Well, it's in PDF. It's not in print. That's all about like sea journeys and ships, because they're going to introduce some lands that really haven't been tackled before. Anthony Good points out, love the artwork. Yeah, Cubicle 7's known for solid artwork. I like Cubicle 7 a lot. And some people have commented that, they don't appreciate how I say, oh, my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment, or my friends over at Free League Publishing, or Chaosium Inc. It's like, well, gotta realize I've been covering this hobby for quite a long time now, and I have personal relationships with a lot of these people from these companies, and I consider them to be, friends in the industry. So if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. They're my friends. They're my pals. It's one of the things I love most about going to like Gen Con is I get to talk to, people I only get to see once a year and hang out, maybe have a few beers. All right, so it looks like we've got some new rules too. Okay, so we have our appendices here. So I have Gory Riches. It says, with the notable exception of the legendary hordes of dragons, the majority of the fierce creatures of the old world do not have convenient chests of loot lying about their lairs. Oh, that's different. There are a few beasts clever enough to realize that acquiring riches for bait might bring more meals to their door. Such creatures are near invariably far more cunning and dangerous to encounter. That's cool. I like that. Preservation level. So it's talking about killing things and bringing them back. So it's the bringing it back dead rather than alive. Scott's rocking out. Good to see you, Scott. Thanks a bunch for swinging in. Good to see you. Hope everything's all is well out in Oregon. Christopher Rush has joined us in chat, and Chthonic Musings is with us. They are asking, what stat tells you the scale size of each creature in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay? Let's take a quick peek. Because I was going to say, I don't remember there actually being one. Usually the size is discussed in its description. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't see one. Movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, intelligence, agility. Or no, I'm sorry, initiative, agility, intelligence, wound points, wounds. No, it's willpower. I haven't run Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4E in a few months. So, in fact, this is the first book I've looked at in a while. So Joseph says, yes, it's in the text block. Right. Okay, so then we got new rules about poison. What else we got here? Looks like we've got useful concoctions. So poisons antidotes and concoctions. Got some new equipment. Yep, weapons and armor, magical items, new ammunition, unusual items, and we get an afterword. So I'll be very honest, I'm never really a huge fan of this kind of presentation because it's not all that easy to read. I mean, I don't mind when it's like a handout for a player and then you get the information like in print that you can read as the game master. But I mean, I get it. I understand. It's, you know, immersion and things like that. But I mean, it's only, you know, what, a couple of pages here. If there was a lot of it in the book, I would end up dinging it in its review score. Okay, so we've got the expected expeditions, because remember, we get some pre-gens. Oh, there we go. Here's our pre-gens. So we get the 6 of them. So that's obviously, that's a dwarf. For a second, I was like, is that a halfling? And I was like, nah, way too bulky to be a halfling. We got an elf. They're a human, probably a scholar. Pit fighter, yes. Yes. A wizard. I talk about it all the time. Whenever I'm, you know, discussing good old Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, I always talk about how the rat catcher is an excellent starting career. So we get into all the creature traits, and then we get a breakdown telling us what each of them is, including where it's located in the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay core book, or if it's not there, it tells us what it is. Sweet. All right, then we get an index and a list of the beasts. Oh, look at this. Size comparisons. Oh, that crab is pretty cool. That's very cool. It looks like it's got part of a tower and a ship. Nice. So there we go. Is that a squig? It must be a squig of some sort, because I thought that's, oh, there we go. And there we've got the average human size. So here, that's kind of cool that we get that to give us an idea of the creature's size. Nice. All right, that is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, The Imperial Zoo from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. It is, like I said, I believe this is releasing this week. Otherwise, it's already in stores. And it carries an MSRP of $39.99. Or you can grab the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. Should mention that if you purchase books from Cubicle 7 Entertainment themselves, their website, you get the PDF for free. So I always like to point that out. But if you are only going to get the PDF, then I recommend go to DriveThruRPG. Please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Use one of our banners, because that way I get a small portion of that sale, and it helps keep us around, whereas just buying the PDF, just going there, doesn't help us at all. It doesn't cost you any more when you purchase it. All right, I will have a review of the Imperial Zoo in the very near future. Also, want to mention that my review of Empire in Ruins is coming out very, very shortly. I should have quite a lot of reviews, especially role-playing game reviews, over the next couple of weeks, as I have been spending a lot of time reading RPGs. So we've got that coming. Also, my first episode of the Classic Cthulhu Case Files will be out this weekend. I got to point out, I don't know if I'm going to be doing the Dungeons & Dragons TSR Treasures series because of the goings-on with the Open Game License 1.1 and just a lot of the negative attitude that people have, including myself. I'm not lying. I'm not going to, polish a turd. I think Wizards of the Coast is way out of hand. And that's why I keep mentioning they've taken this, what appears to be a hostile stance against third-party creators and the public and gamers. That's what really throws me off. So anyway, so I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I'm thinking I won't. So I might kind of bounce around something to replace it as far as a new series for 2023. All right. So there you have it. That is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do, don't forget, ding that bell, because it will not only let you know when the Gaming Gang Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. It also lets you know when I upload other videos, such as that upcoming 22 stellar science fiction role-playing games worthy of your attention. So tomorrow's show, we are going to be taking a look at the Broncolonia Macaronicon from Archeron Games. And then on Wednesday, oh man, this box is heavy. We're going to take a look inside the Charge of the Three Kings from NAC Wargames, because these are now available in North America. So we're going to dive on in. We're going to have ourselves a War Game Wednesday, 2 weeks in a row. Nice. So Fleming Heron says that name is a mouthful. We're talking about the Broncolonia Macaronicon. Just rolls right off. Hey, it's not as bad as Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed of. So, alrighty. Anyway, if you were watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate you tuning in to check out the show. If you watched live and took part in chat, an even bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company as well. And we all have a lot more fun that way. But of course, I know a lot of you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I really do appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your busy schedule to take a look at any of the videos here on the channel. Thank you very, very kindly. All right, I will be back tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. And of course, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.